Everyone, hope you're doing well. You'll recognise Dirk from Blackburn Roversea. He came on a couple of years ago. I asked him about Adam Armstrong. He massively put me off about him, and I'm kind of glad he did. Turns out he was right. He wasn't suited for West Ham, going by what we've seen at Southampton. But anyway, we're going to turn our attentions to the Carabao Cup. But first of all, let's talk about your season. Let's talk about Blackburn. I mean, from an outsider looking in, it looks pretty impressive sitting second in the Championship.
Yes, and there are pundits or opinions out there that's saying our position is a little false. And to be honest with you, with I guess if you ask the core Rovers fan base, they would probably agree with that. I think yes, we are sitting second, and we wouldn't swap it for the world at the moment. But a lot of those wins have been squeaky bum wins, 1-0 wins, where we've thrown a lot of bodies on the line to make sure that we take home those points. However, I would say this, on top of that, I heard a famous man out there, might not even been in this sport, but defense wins championships. So I'm going to roll with that at the moment. Yeah, we might not be as clinical or free scoring as maybe Rovers under Mowbray, and especially in some games. But definitely at the back, it seems to. I'm not saying we are an iron wall or a brick fence or whatever you want to call it, but it seems to be a lot of teamwork, effort. Everybody's seems to be going for the same thing. You know, even if you're Sam Gallagher or bad boy Brereton Diaz up top, everyone's fighting for the team, and they're all doing their hardest to make sure when we take the lead that we make sure that we take them all 3 points. So, yeah, I'm happy where we are. Will we be there at the end of the season? Probably not.
Well, that's my next question then. Is promotion a realistic aim for Blackburn? Not at the start of the season. I don't care what you were thinking at the start of the season. Today, right now, like I said, you look like you're in a decent position. So surely, as your hopes or aims not altered?
Yeah, well, perhaps. I think at the start of the season, I was looking for 10th. Of course, this is a brand new manager, JDT, new to not only Blackburn Rovers, but new to, well, not necessarily England. He was here as a player way back for Newcastle, but as a manager. So I wouldn't say it's a gamble, but it's going to be a transitional season regardless. So at the moment, the second spot looks great, and we were here last season, of course, but the Rovers of old seem to have kind of like two parts to a season. The first half seemed to be very, very well, and the second half we kind of bottle jobbed it and kind of collapsed. I'm hoping that we can at least come at this championship season a little bit differently this time around, and maybe not necessarily hold on the top two spots. I think that's going to be a little bit ambitious when you look at some of the financial power of some of the teams in and around the playoffs, your Norwiches, your Watford, your Sheffield Uniteds. But if we can finish in the top six in the playoffs for the first time in, I don't know, 12 odd years or something, or actually the first time since we've ever been relegated to the Premier League, it would be a massive achievement for JDT under his first season, and something to build on next season.
Well, talk about, financial prowess of the other clubs. You could potentially get a financial injection yourself if you decide to sell Ben Bereton Diaz. But I guess this is the $1 million and perhaps a £15 million question. What are you hoping for as a fan? You're going into the January transfer window now. His contract's running out. However, he's your best chance of getting promoted, but he's also the best chance of getting some money in so that you can reinvest in the squad and start to perhaps bring in longer-term prospects.
Yeah, well, at the moment, I think I just actually heard a fresh comment from Diaz, said he's going to be staying here no matter what to the bitter end of the season, and that will mean his contract will expire. And I can see it from his point of view. He could be, he could sign on for a team, West Ham or Southampton or Wolves, for example, in January, and end up back in the Championship. Whereas on the other foot, Rovers could be more fortuitous or maybe a little bit lucky and actually replace one of those teams in the Premier League. So he's kind of keeping his cards to his chest and seeing where Rovers end up at the end of the season. And of course, considering his options, we of course were in and ahhing, and I actually had already sold him in my mind in July and August. I thought he was a goner, and I thought Fulham or Everton were going to come in. But the fees that they were bandering around was a little bit of an insult at the time, like 10 million, maybe even less than 10 million, like 7 million for a player with a year left on his contract. So it felt a bit insulting for him as a player and for us as well. And it is a bit of a catch-22. for the owners, for the people that deal with the money. Either maybe you do try and sell him or get some money for him in January. But I think at the moment where we are at the table and the vibe around the fan base and the right and just the kind of general take on things at Blackburn right now, I think we're not going to sell him. I think he's gonna play again, see where he is at the end of the season at the end of May, where we could, I dare to dream, but I think if we do get promoted, he will likely extend his stay. But of course, if we don't, then the likes of West Ham, whoever else, Leeds, long-time admirers, will come sniffing for a bargain.
Well, let's talk about his traits then, because we've also been linked to him quite a lot. I think at the start of the season, I wouldn't have minded another attacking player to be added to our squad as we closed in on the transfer window, but I was pretty content. When our window closed, I thought we could maybe have done one more, but I was sort of thinking we've maybe got enough. However, as the season's progressed, certainly in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been thinking we're perhaps one attacker short, and we need somebody that's capable of playing striker, but can also play perhaps in a front three on one of the wider positions. And Diaz is ticking a few boxes here. You know what I mean? We've scouted him. He's young. In terms of his fee, he's relatively cheap. He's done it in England for his whole career as well. There's not a lot to not like. I guess it's now down to his playing style, because I'll confess, Dirk, I've only seen highlights of him. I haven't seen much of Blackburn. I've only seen what he can do in highlight reels, and everybody looks good in a highlight reel. So that's my problem. Now, like I said at the start, you put me off Adam Armstrong.
Yeah.
Tell me about Ben Bereton Diaz. Give me his strengths and his weaknesses, and if you think he's capable of stepping up to the Premier League.
Well, I think Diaz is a completely different player to Adam Armstrong. There's definitely more to him as a player. And I definitely think he is suited to the Premier League. I call him the Chilean Harry Kane. I know the Chilean side of things is a little bit of a bizarro world, but I think he's strong. I think he's got a shot on him. He plays for us for the time being anyway, out wide left. But he can play down the middle when called upon, and that's been our dying desire. And I think a couple of times we've had it where JDT's played it with Gallagher and Diaz up top together in a two, which we've been screaming at for years, because they're both 6 foot something, tall bodies, strong bodies, annoying little players to play against for defenders. And he's fast. He's confident. His passing is a little bit ropey at times. And that's what my biggest concerns would be. He can be a little bit greedy as well on the left side, but that's a striker. Strikers are greedy. They like to go for the goal. They go for the headlines. And but for me, people have said bring Adam Armstrong back. He was great for us as a whip, somebody who's got pace and can do things. But if I had to choose in their peak for Rovers anyway, Diaz has been a breath of fresh air, something that we've grown to love as well. He did have a rough start. We spent 7 million on him from Forest, and he was a dead rubber the first season and a half. But it all came to glory last season. 20 odd goals before December, making a lot of Rovers fans rich, who did a cheeky £10 bet on him before December, and they made him over 1,000 each, and they were rolling in it. Unfortunately, I didn't do it, but I wish I did. But no, it would be a sore loss for us, and it's also going to be a major bone of contention or a talking point come June, when, if we're not promoted, which I'm not saying we are, I would love to see it. I would get promoted, but the likelihood is we won't be promoted, and he will go for free for somebody.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm a bit more encouraged by the Diaz chat now. Hopefully it's something that sort of gets reignited again by West Ham. Moving on to the Cup then, is there any players West Ham fans should watch out for in the Rovers shirt on Wednesday night?
My expectation is it's going to be a much weakened side for Rovers, because we've got probably a bigger thing on our mind, which is the East Lancashire derby on Sunday, which is a game we've been looking forward to for years. A game we're probably going to lose anyway against Burnley, but we're saving the vast majority of our first team for that. The only exclusion for me, maybe a second chance as well, is a fallen star really at Blackburn Rovers. That's Bradley Dack. He's not in John Dale Thomason's favour. He just got sent off in the under-21s. He's a player that ripped it up for the Championship for a couple of seasons, and has been the face of the place at Ewood Park for a number of years. Now it seems to be split with the fan base whether he's going to feature at all for Rovers. But I do think he will get a chance in the cup to play and dazzle. He is a dazzler. He's a character. He can score goals. He's passionate about the club. It's a bitter point, bitter thing for me because I love the guy and I don't want to see him leave the club. I know he's probably going to leave more than likely to Sunderland in January, but I think he's the guy that's more likely to get you off your seat, even though he's not as fast as he was, but he's got the tricks, he's got the confidence, he's got a shot on him. Other players, perhaps Tyree Stolen. Tyree Stolen is another shining light. We picked him up from a local rivals, Preston, and let him free a couple of seasons ago. And slowly but surely, he's been maturing as a player. And again, JDT, our coach, has his favourites. And right now, he's not one of them. But he's a Bobby Dazzler, as he says. You know, he pulls all the tricks and he's got all the moves. A little bit too often for me, and he does them in a lot of dangerous positions, which infuriates me a little bit. But when he gets it right, and he can cause havoc with maybe aging defenders. I don't know if that's going to be a concern for West Ham on Wednesday. I don't know what your expectations are for your team, first team.
We don't know at the minute. There's a lot of uncertainty at the moment. What about one player I want to quickly ask you about before we move on to West Ham is Sammy Smodix, who's I remember seeing him at Colchester, and I thought this guy is going to make it. In, I mean, you could argue he has. He's gone to Championship club. He's still, young enough, 27, I think he is now. But he's not done it yet at Blackburn. Could he be playing on Wednesday? Because the context here is he's a big West Ham fan, so this would be like big stage for him.
Yeah, if at best it would be the bench. He's actually brought in this season, had a okay start, scored on his debut, but then he kind of didn't deliver for about a month and a half, and he kind of fell out of favour. But he's since resurfaced, and he's actually been preferred to Dak, pushing Dak way out of the picture. And the likelihood he's going to be saved for Sunday because of his height. He's got quite high tempo and very energised and full of running, which is going to be needed for Sunday, which we are, I think, we are prioritising that match, I believe. But if it's his desire, I think he'll be on the bench to maybe if he's going to rock up against his boyhood club, I guess, West Ham.
Right, we'll talk about West Ham then. What's your thoughts on Hammers?
What's my thoughts on? Sorry,
on us. What's your thoughts on West Ham?
Okay. Oh yeah, I would say I've got a soft spot for West Ham. I went to the old Upton Park way back when. It was I think I actually saw Russell Brand actually on the outskirts, and I think we lost that day. I think we lost in extra time. It was back in the mid-noughts. I don't know. McCarthy scored for us. I remember that, the South African. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for them. I'm keeping an eye on them in Europe. I'd love to see them go far and maybe even pick up one of these Europa League trophies or whatever they're in these days. So at the London clubs that are in the Premier League, they seem to be the more traditional or more authentic London clubs that are left and competing, rightly so, in the Premier League, and they belong there. They belong in the Premier League. There are some clubs that you look at the Premier League, and you think they don't belong in the Premier League. But West Ham, of course, have earned their stripes and definitely deserve to be in the top 20 teams within the Premier League. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for them, and I'd like to see them do well, and. They've got some good players as well. And again, if Diaz is going to leave to the Premier League, West Ham would be a fantastic destination for him, potentially competing in Europe, potentially being in London to juggle with his international exploits. And that's another selling point for him. He is, of course, a big face in Chile. He's the face of Pepsi Max. So, it would be a great asset for any club, West Ham included.
Forget you're on the West Ham fan channel for just 1 minute. Do you think West Ham can win this competition? Be honest.
To be honest with you, I don't know who's still left in. I don't. Have the big boys played in it yet?
No, everybody's in now. This is the round where we all come in. I think there's 19 Premier League teams in this round. I don't know who's not in it. It must be Man City. But there's 19 Premier League teams in this round.
Right. Well, who won it last year? It wasn't Man City. Was it? Was it Liverpool last year?
It must be. It's always City. For some reason, I don't think it was.
I think it was
Liverpool.
Yeah, I think it was Liverpool won it, and so they might be in the next round. Yeah, of course, West Ham can win it. But depends on how seriously you take it, and again, once we're just happy to be here in the third round. We've always been knocked out the past couple of 4 seasons in the first round to like Morecambe or whoever. So we're just happy to be here. And then I've spoken to a lot of fans who are making the long trip to London and to enjoy a day out and hoping to we don't really care if we win or lose this one. It would be great to win, of course, but it's always an extra game on the calendar. In a season where we're supposed to compete for the top 6. But yeah, West Ham could definitely win. They've got the players, of course, in there. And I think they have the depth as well. But you're also competing in Europe still, right? You're still through to the next stage there. So it's, you can win it. But you got a lot of juggling to do with the Premier League and Europa League stuff and this as well. And the FA Cup to rear its head eventually in January.
I'll take that as a polite no, a polite probably not. But let's turn our attention to Wednesday night then. I'm getting a vibe from you, right? But how do you see this game going?
Well, I honestly don't know. I really don't know. I won't be able to watch it either. I'm trying to find somewhere that's going to have it because I'm based in the USA. So I don't know. I really don't know. I can't call. I know I have a vibe as well. I don't know what the West Ham team's going to be. I've got a feeling that JDT is not going to take this one seriously and play reserves. However, speaking of our reserves, there's a team in there. There's a team of 11 players that can play football and can cause problems, and especially catch an unprepared Premier League team on Wednesday night. So I think we can surprise you, but I think we'll lose 2-1 to West Ham on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a reserve game on Wednesday from both teams, really, because Moyes is under a little bit of pressure at the moment, given results in 2022, not just this season, going all the way back to the 1st of January onwards. In 2022, his win ratio in the Premier League is less than what Steven Gerrard's was at Aston Villa when he got sacked. So it's not great at the minute. And we play Leicester on Saturday, who are now in good form. So I think while you're prioritising, and correctly so, by the way, prioritising the Burnley game on Sunday, I will be prioritising the Leicester game on Saturday. However, our second string team has been doing it in the Europa Conference League group stage. We've won 6 games out of 6. And I think we'll see a similar lineup to what we've seen in those group stages, where there's probably 4 or 5 first 11 players starting, and then the other 6 are players that are probably on the bench against Leicester. They'll be starting, but the players we're bringing in are still Premier League experienced players. We paid 13 million for Emerson. He'll probably feature. Flynn Downs, we signed from Swansea in the summer. He'll possibly be in midfield. So we'll have plenty of experience in the team. I just think it'll be our second string team. And I think both managers have got one eye on the weekend going into this one. So if people are watching this, we're not selling it to you. Me and Dirk are not. Carabao are not hiring me and Dirk anytime soon to do the marketing for this competition. Don't watch it. Both managers don't care.
I can't watch it.
But Dirk, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate it, and best of luck with the rest of the season after Wednesday night. I wouldn't mind Blackburn back in the Premier League, to be honest with you. I wouldn't. There's, every season you look at the Championship of the teams that are in and around the area, and you think, I wouldn't mind them. Like, Nottingham Forest is one team I've been sort of rooting to see come up for quite a while now, and I know they're in League One presently, but I'd like to see Sheffield Wednesday make their way back up eventually and stuff. And Blackburn's one of those teams where I wouldn't mind seeing them back in the Premier League, and I don't think I'd mind seeing Ben Bereton Diaz in the Premier League at the London Stadium next season in the Claret and Blue, to be precise. But Dirk, thank you very much. If you'd wish to see and hear more from Dirk, you can head over to his channel at Blackburn Roversea. What a name. The link to his channel is in the description below. Anyway, I'm going to disappear because I am getting background envy looking at Dirk for the last 20 minutes or so. But if you've enjoyed this video at home, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. We'll catch you in a bit.